Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to another episode of ManageEngine Shield Classroom. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about brute force attacks. We'll be understanding what brute force attacks are, and we'll be looking at ways in which you can defend against brute force attacks. Because believe it or not, even in the year 2022, brute force attacks are a thing. Many attackers still get that initial access into a network by performing a brute force attack. So we'll first understand what brute force attacks are, right? It's not a very sophisticated sort of an attack. It is very much like a burglar trying to get into a house by banging on the lock, on the padlock, and then ultimately getting in, right? So it's not very sophisticated at all. So here's the way that we can explain the brute force attack. So here you have an attacker, and then usually what the attacker does is they use an automated tool. Now this automated tool is going to take two files. It's going to take a file called username.txt. So this could be a text file that contains a list of possible usernames that the attacker is going to use in this attack. And then this automated tool is also going to take in a file called password.txt, which is a list of potential passwords that can be used in this attack. So what is going to happen is different combinations and permutations of these usernames and passwords are going to be tried, and the attacker is going to hope for a match. So that's what a brute force is, right? They're trying to brute force their way in by doing something very non-sophisticated by using a list of usernames and passwords, right? So there are going to be multiple logon attempts, and that is what is being depicted over here. And then hopefully from the attacker's point of view, they are going to be successful, right? So that's a brute force attack. Now, what can you do to defend against a brute force attack? Well, first of all, you should avoid having passwords such as password at 123. If that is your password, I wish you the best of luck. You should never have a password like password at 123. Likewise, don't have a password like summer at 2016. Now, these are passwords that are very, very easy to crack. In 2022, one of the interesting statistics, it says that it takes about 39 minutes for an 8-character long password to be compromised. And this 8-character long password could be of any complexity. So you could have a password that is containing alphanumericals. You can have passwords that contain special symbols. But even so, if it is just 8 characters long, it's probably going to take an attacker about 39 minutes to compromise that password. So have passwords that are at least 15 characters long. If not 15 characters, at least 12 characters long. That should do the trick. And it should be of sufficient complexity. So make sure that that is one of your password policies. An even better way to defend yourself would be to use passphrases instead of passwords. Statistics again show that passphrases are more effective. Number one, it will lead to less password fatigue. Users are less likely to forget passphrases. And secondly, from the attacker's point of view, they are harder to crack. So use passphrases if possible. Implement multi-factor authentication, or at least two-factor authentication. But in this day and age, two-factor authentication, well, it's better than nothing, but there is nothing like multi-factor authentication. A multi-factor authentication can help you safeguard against most of the attacks, account compromise attacks. But wherever possible, don't use two-factor authentication, use multi-factor authentication. A good, effective multi-factor authentication would contain 3 things. One, it should be something that the user knows. So you would still use passwords. So that is the first thing. The second thing would be something that the user owns. So a mobile phone which has an authenticator application. Always better to use authenticator apps instead of SMSs or OTPs. And the third thing would be something that the user actually is. So something like a retina scan or fingerprint, that would be the third factor of authentication. So use multi-factor authentication. Limit logon attempts for a specific time period. So in case you find that there are lots of logon attempts that are happening, so limit them and make sure that that account gets logged out. Have that in your policy. Use CAPTCHA. I know it's very frustrating. I don't like CAPTCHA, but that could be a way that you can enforce that your accounts are not compromised. And use a SIM solution for detection. So you've got to be able to detect all the activities that happen in real time, and a SIM solution can go a long way in detecting this. So you can have a rule in a SIM solution that says that after a specific number of logons, you get alerted about that, and you log off that user. That is automated response that a SIM solution can give you. You can also look at anomaly detection. A SIM solution which has anomaly detection capabilities can do that for you. So in case a user is doing some sort of anomalous logon activity, you can actually go ahead and get to know about that in real time, either by email or by SMS, right? So these are things that you can do for defending yourself rather from brute force attacks. Now, before I end this session, I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about something very similar to a brute force attack. It's called a password spray attack, right? Password spray attack. In fact, I would say that a password spray attack is the exact reverse of a brute force attack. So many people even call it a reverse brute force attack, right? In a brute force attack, what happens is you're trying to compromise using different sets of usernames and passwords, right? So that is what is happening. You're trying to brute force your way into different usernames or user accounts using a lot of passwords. In a password spray attack, what happens usually is a less number of passwords, maybe 1 or 2 passwords, maybe 1 password. Maybe this password is called password@123. Right? So this password is going to be sprayed across the network. Right? So the attacker would figure that there is at least one user in the network who uses this password, and that is what they are hoping for. And that one user will get compromised, and that is going to be that initial access. They are going to get able to compromise that account, do a privilege escalation, and then do a lateral movement. So that is called a password spray attack. So make sure you protect yourself against brute force and password spray attacks. Do all of these things that we discussed. Make sure you have a SIM solution, and I hope you all make sure that you're well guarded against these brute force attacks. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to me. My name is Ram, and until next time, have a great day.